Zombies. New media versus zombies. That's my topic. So let's meet our star players here. Old media. Bum, bum, bum. God, 15 seconds is really long. That's not 15 seconds. Fine. We'll just say, here we go. Yes, the old media zombies. Wow. Time warp. All right, I'm just going to do it on my iPod here and just pretend what I'm... Okay. So, old media, new media. We got people doing wine podcasts, all these niche things, and it's because the many-to-many costs have gotten so low, which is really scary if you've made your living being one of these large places that controls all access to everything. And so they scare you and say, it's bad for the children. And they did the things like the Communications Decency Act and said, everything that's free on the internet must be dumbed down to the level of the child. But it turns out that it wasn't practical, and they actually, good things came out of it. But it is the Wild West still, even now. And a lot of things, it took a long time for even the basics of what was legal and illegal to be sorted out. And one of the ones that really was slow to the party was the RIAA. They went around suing everybody, generally bullying people because they were so scared that people were going to be copying music. And, so they decided, they kind of empowered themselves, since, no one else is taking care of business. They're going to do the same thing as like the criminals did with the spam and the another kind of zombie, but they did it through a company called Media Defender. And they said, well, any place that's doing peer-to-peer sharing of files, we're just going to jam them, and all of a sudden their stuff won't work. And they did this to a company that was actually using peer-to-peer to distribute their own stuff. And it turns out that, even in the Wild West, it is illegal for one private party to deliberately sabotage another private party. So they kind of backed off on that. Oddly enough, no one ever really got punished on that, but they just sort of quietly backed off of it. But, being zombies, they're very simple-minded creatures, and even when it's not in their own best interest, they're always thinking about other ways to control everything. So we go across the pond to France and figure out what sort of novel solutions they come up with. They say, hey, I know, how about 3 accusations that you've copied something? You don't even have to prove it. You just say, hey, I think that guy copied something. You get 3 of those, and your internet gets cut off. And, it turns out that even in France, denying people vital services without actually going through a court is kind of unacceptable. So fortunately that got overturned. It was amazing that it went as far as it did. And now, as 40% of the topics tonight have Twitter, you gotta say something about Twitter. And this was a social thing that came up, and it was distinctive in 2 ways. It was really simple, and it had a metric of follower count that was really good at sort of showing amongst the people that were into it who had the best reputations. And they sort of percolated, and a follower count actually meant something for a long time, and it was something you can earn, and it was completely a meritocracy. And people like these became sort of the rock stars, the people that were doing their niche casting, wine, life casting, and Leo, who he was a mainstream guy who covered new media until he became new media. And now he's doing like 40 hours out of his basement. And then Oprah had to tell everybody about Twitter. And now the mainstream sensibilities flooded the system. And a follower count really was more a reflection of whether you were on TV than if anyone actually found what you were saying remotely interesting. And we all just sort of got to this state. Well, it's got to get better, right? As for myself, I also am doing the TV thing, although it's community TV, so I get a little pass, I think. But I'm hoping to follow the path of Leo with Northwest Tech Show and cover the new media and become the new media. I think that's the way to go about things. So just want to say thank you to everyone who finally brought this together. Yeah. Ross. Yeah, and everyone who made this happen. Thanks very much.